Hello and welcome to IAMC Radio and Podcast.
Glad to be here.
Today, we're going to explore the top news headlines for April 19th.
Yes, we've got 10 significant stories lined up from today's news cycle.
And as always, our commitment is to, delve into these with truth and justice in mind.
Absolutely. Let's get started.
Okay, first up, a big one from Nigeria. The CBN Governor, Olayemi Cardoso, is facing a contempt suit.
That's right. It's been filed by Melrose General Services Limited.
And the core issue seems to be about money, specifically the Paris Club refund.
Exactly. Melrose is claiming the CBN hasn't fully followed a Supreme Court judgment from, I believe, June last year.
Yes, ordering the release of funds. The court apparently reversed a forfeiture of Melrose's N$1.22 billion and an extra N$220 million.
Right. And while the CBN did pay back the larger sum, the N$1.22 billion,
Melrose says that N$220 million is still outstanding, hence the contempt suit.
Now, the CBN side of the story is interesting. They're arguing the court didn't say they had to pay Melrose directly.
Oh, so who did the court say should get the money?
Well, according to the CBN, it was supposed to go to two other companies, Wasp Networks and Thee Wellness.
Okay, so have those companies claimed it?
Wasp Networks lawyers have apparently asked for N$200 million, but Thee Wellness hasn't come forward for the remaining N$20 million yet.
And the EFCC, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, they're involved too.
Yes, they're challenging why they're even part of these contempt proceedings. It seems tied to older allegations involving Bukola Saraki and Melrose.
It's quite tangled, so what's next?
The next hearing is scheduled for June 4th. Definitely one to watch.
Okay, moving on. Staying in Nigeria, but shifting to politics.
Yes, this involves Datti Baba Ahmed, the former Labour Party VP candidate.
He's had some strong words for President Tinubu, hasn't he?
He has indeed. He basically advised Tinubu not to seek re-election in 2027.
On what grounds? What was his reasoning?
He said on Arise Television that he believes Nigerians will demand, quote, true democracy in 2027.
And he thinks Tinubu wouldn't win.
Yeah, he predicted Tinubu would likely lose and called the ruling party, the APC, a lying party.
Wow, strong language. He seems convinced people will unite against the current leadership.
That's a prediction he made, yes. A very direct political statement.
All right, let's pivot now to international news, specifically the UK.
Okay, this is about immigration rules. The UK Home Office has updated its list of approved English language tests.
CELTES, right, secure English language tests. What's changed?
Seems like some updates to test formats, and they're trying to make the requirements clearer globally.
Any specific tests affected?
Yes, the Language Cert ESOL Self-4 Skills Test is being replaced by two new ones.
What if someone already took the old test or bought a voucher?
Good question. Old results are valid for 2 years and unused vouchers for 12 months, so there's a grace period.
And do all visa applicants need the same kind of test?
No, it varies. For skilled worker or student visas, you generally need all 4 skills: reading, writing, speaking, listening.
But for citizenship or settlement?
For those, and partner visas too, usually just speaking and listening are required.
So people need to check carefully which test they need for their specific situation.
Absolutely. The Home Office listed the approved providers like Pearson, IELTS, Trinity College, and others. They've also got info on test centers and ID requirements.
Crucial details for anyone planning a move to the UK. Okay, now back to Nigeria, and sadly, it's tragic news from Lagos.
Yes, a multi-story building collapsed in Ohoduberger. It was still under construction.
When did this happen?
Around 8 a.m. this morning. Reports say a restaurant, Equal Rate Restaurant, was on the ground floor.
Oh no! Are there casualties? Do we know if people were inside?
That's the worrying part. An unspecified number of people are reportedly trapped.
Are rescue teams there?
Yes. LACEMA, the Loyo State Emergency Management Agency, is on site carrying out rescue operations.
Any idea what caused it? I know it's early.
Too early for official causes, but one witness apparently described it as a disaster waiting to happen. Raises serious questions about construction safety.
Absolutely heartbreaking. And unfortunately, there's more tragic news, this time from the DR Congo.
Yeah, a really horrific boat accident on the Congo River.
What are the reported numbers?
At least 148 people confirmed dead. The boat was a motorized wooden one, apparently carrying around 500 passengers.
500? That sounds incredibly overloaded. What happened?
It overturned, caught fire, and then capsized. This happened on Tuesday. Hundreds are still missing.
Just devastating. Any survivors?
About 100 survivors were taken to a local town hall.
Any indication of what caused the fire?
The report suggests a woman was cooking on board, and that might have started it. People then jumped into the water, many drowning.
And these accidents, they seem to happen too often there.
Sadly, yes. Overloaded boats, often old vessels. It's a persistent problem with waterway transport in Congo. A real tragedy.
Definitely. Okay, let's shift focus again, this time to international relations and trade. U.S. tariffs on China.
Right, and the Chinese ambassador to Nigeria, Mr. Dunhai Yu, held a press conference about this.
China's reaction has been defiant, promising retaliation, yes.
It has. But Ambassador Yu also framed this, interestingly, as an opportunity to deepen cooperation between China and Nigeria and Africa more broadly.
How so? An opportunity out of tariffs?
Well, he emphasized the China-Africa relationship being based on mutual respect and win-win cooperation. He highlighted China expanding market access, like zero tariffs for many least developed African countries.
And the China-Nigeria trade relationship is quite significant, isn't it?
It is around $22 billion bilaterally. The ambassador mentioned China is open to importing more Nigerian goods, citing a recent agreement on peanuts.
So China's message is cooperation with Africa while resisting U.S. pressure.
Pretty much. He said China would work with Nigeria to uphold the multilateral trading system and resist protectionism, while also vowing not to bow to the U.S. and taking countermeasures.
He didn't mince words about the U.S. actions either, did he?
No, he called them arrogance, bullying, and selfishness, and predicted global opposition. He also mentioned IMF and WTO warnings about the negative impact on global growth.
And specific concerns for Africa.
Yes, concerns about things like currency devaluation and hindering industrialization efforts on the continent due to these trade tensions.
Okay, now turning to the Middle East. Reports of a U.S. airstrike in Yemen.
Yes, on the Ras Isa oil port. And there are reports of significant casualties.
What are the numbers being reported?
The Houthi rebel group is reporting 74 killed and 171 injured.
What's the U.S. position on this strike?
U.S. Central Command stated the aim was to hit a fuel source for the Houthis, cut off revenue, and they explicitly said it wasn't intended to harm Yemeni people.
But the Houthis are calling it an attack on a civilian facility?
Correct. They condemned it as completely unjustified aggression, and their TV network showed graphic footage. Satellite images apparently show damage to fuel tanks.
This is happening amidst ongoing conflict, right? Houthi missile launches, attacks on shipping.
Exactly. The Houthis reportedly launched a missile towards Israel recently, which was intercepted, and the U.S. has accused a Chinese satellite firm of helping Houthis target ships.
It's a very volatile situation. Over 100 vessels attacked since November, apparently.
Yes, the Red Sea region remains a major flashpoint.
Okay, let's talk about COVID-19 origins now. There's been a development reported regarding the U.S. stance.
Yes, this refers back to the U.S. government under former President Trump. Information on the White House website confirmed their assessment at the time that the virus originated from a lab leak in China.
And this assessment included challenging the natural origin narrative.
It did. It suggested a specific scientific paper promoting the natural origin theory was potentially prompted by Dr. Anthony Fauci.
What reasons did the U.S. government give for believing the lab leak theory back then?
They cited a few things. The virus having what they called non-natural characteristics. All early cases tracing back to a single point. The presence of the Wuhan Institute of Virology doing relevant research, and reports of WIV staff being sick with similar symptoms in late 2019.
And their position was that clear evidence for a natural origin hadn't emerged?
That was their stated position, yes.
Has China responded to this being highlighted again?
Not yet, according to the report. This obviously resurfaces amid ongoing U.S.-China tensions.
A stark reminder of the pandemic's beginnings and the ongoing questions. Over 700 million cases worldwide, 7 million deaths.
Indeed. And the first known cases were in China. It remains a complex and sensitive topic.
Right. Moving on to an international law enforcement success story, it seems.
Yes, the extradition of a wanted man back to Nigeria. Benjamin Best Nairogo, also known as Killaboi.
What is he accused of?
He's facing prosecution for the alleged murder of a 21-year-old student, Augusta Anuapagbi, in Lagos back in July 2023.
And he fled the country.
He did. He was extradited from Doha, Qatar, after a significant international effort involving Nigerian police, the Ministry of Justice, Interpol, and Qatari authorities.
Was he hard to track down?
It sounds like it.
Oh.
He allegedly released a misleading confession video, was declared wanted, got an Interpol red notice, was arrested in Sierra Leone under a false name, escaped from prison there.
Wow, quite the chase.
Yeah, then moved through West Africa, East Asia, the Middle East using forged identities, finally settling in Qatar under a fake Guinean passport in early 2025.
How did they finally confirm it was him?
Through biometrics and collaboration between the Interpol bureaus, the Qatari authorities then approved the extradition.
A major piece of international police work, then.
Absolutely. The Inspector General of Police specifically commended the cooperation involved.
Okay, our final story today is... well, it's deeply troubling. It's about the situation in Gaza.
Yes, it highlights the absolute desperation there. Reports are emerging that some families are eating sea turtles to survive.
Sea turtles, because of the food scarcity.
Exactly. With the war, the aid blockades, there's just not enough food. Meat, poultry, even vegetables are scarce or unavailable. So turtle meat is being boiled and cooked.
That's unbelievable. Is this widespread?
The report cites one woman in Khan Yunis feeding it to her displaced family for the third time. The UN and aid groups have been warning about famine conditions unfolding.
And sea turtles are endangered, aren't they?
They are internationally protected, yes. A fisherman explained they're using turtles caught accidentally in nets because there's simply no other protein.
It paints a horrifying picture of the humanitarian crisis.
It really does. The UN agency reiterated the severity since the war began last October. Hamas has accused Israel of using starvation as a weapon.
Did the fisherman address the religious aspect?
Yes, he mentioned the turtles were killed according to Islamic rites, but stressed they wouldn't eat them if there wasn't a famine. It's a measure of last resort.
A truly desperate situation.
It really underscores the human cost of the conflict and the age crisis.
So looking back at today's headlines, it's quite a range. Legal battles, political commentary in Nigeria,
changes to UK immigration, tragic accidents in Lagos and Congo, global trade tensions, conflict updates from Yemen.
The ongoing debate about COVID origins, international justice, and the heartbreaking humanitarian crisis in Gaza.
A lot happening across the globe, touching on so many critical issues.
And we'll continue to explore these events, always aiming for truth and justice in how we report them.
That's the commitment.
Thank you for listening to the Today's Top News Headlines on IMC Radio and Podcast.